Respect is a strange game. Some people walk into a room and nobody dares to cross a line with them. Nobody interrupts them too much. Nobody pushes them too far. Nobody casually insults them and expects no consequences. Yet these people are not always the loudest. They are not always rich. They are not always powerful. In fact, many of them speak less than everyone else. They stay calm. They do not chase approval. They do not waste energy trying to prove themselves, and somehow people think twice before disrespecting them. Meanwhile, others keep facing the same painful pattern. Friends joke too far. Coworkers ignore boundaries. Family members dismiss feelings. People interrupt them, talk down to them, use them, test them, and slowly begin treating them like someone whose limits do not matter. Here is the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. Disrespect rarely appears out of nowhere. In many cases, people are quietly taught what they can get away with. That idea sounds harsh at first, but once you understand it, everything starts to change, because the people others fear disrespecting understand something most never learn. Respect is not created through anger. It is not created by shouting louder. It is not created through threats, fake confidence, or acting tough. Real respect works differently. It comes from behavior, from boundaries, from emotional control, from quiet signals people notice without even realizing it. And hidden inside this psychology are small behaviors that completely change how people treat you. Some are so subtle most people never notice them, yet they quietly shape social power every single day. Even more surprising, many disrespectful situations begin long before words are spoken. Sometimes it begins in tiny moments people ignore: a nervous laugh after an insult, staying silent when someone crosses a line, explaining yourself too much, chasing approval from people who already stopped respecting you. Small actions, big consequences. In this video, you will learn the psychology that makes people stop and think before crossing you. You will learn why calm people often seem more respected than emotional ones, why over-explaining secretly weakens your position, why some people almost never face repeated disrespect, and the quiet habits that make disrespect feel costly without becoming rude, aggressive, or fake. Most importantly, you will understand the biggest mistake that unknowingly teaches people they can keep disrespecting you again and again. And trust me, the final lesson changes the way you see confidence, boundaries, and self-respect forever, because the truth is far deeper than most people realize. So stay with me until the end, because every section builds on the last, and missing one piece means missing the bigger picture. Welcome to the channel where we break down psychology, human behavior, and self-improvement in a way that actually changes how you see the world. If you enjoy videos that help you become calmer, smarter, and harder to ignore, subscribe now and let's begin. Most people spend years believing respect comes from being nice. Be kind enough and people will appreciate you. Stay patient enough and people will finally understand your value. Keep proving yourself and eventually people will treat you better. Speak louder during arguments and people will finally take you seriously. It sounds reasonable, it sounds fair, but real life quietly teaches a very different lesson. Some of the kindest people are often the most ignored. Some of the most helpful people are often treated like an option. Some people give everything they have and still end up feeling unseen, dismissed, interrupted, or quietly disrespected by the same people they tried so hard to please. This is where frustration begins. You start asking yourself questions that slowly become heavier with time. Why do people keep crossing my limits? Why do they ignore what matters to me? Why do I feel invisible in conversations? Why do certain people seem naturally respected without even trying? The painful truth is this: respect is not built only through good intentions. Respect is shaped through patterns, through repeated behavior, through silent lessons people learn about you without even realizing they are learning them. Human beings are always paying attention to what works, not always consciously, but constantly. If somebody interrupts you and nothing changes, the brain notices. If someone mocks you and the moment passes without consequences, the brain notices. If somebody ignores your time, disrespects your effort, speaks over your opinion, crosses a line, and life continues exactly the same way, something invisible begins happening. A quiet message is being written. The message says this behavior costs nothing. That sentence changes everything, because disrespect grows where it feels cheap. Think about how small moments slowly become habits. Someone jokes at your expense one time and you force a smile because you do not want tension. Then it happens again, then again. Soon it becomes normal. Someone constantly talks over you in conversations, and at first you tell yourself it is not important. Maybe they are excited, maybe you are overthinking, maybe you should just ignore it. Weeks later you notice something painful. Nobody waits for you to finish speaking anymore. Nobody pauses to hear your thought completely. Nobody treats your words with weight, not because people gathered together and decided to disrespect you, but because people quietly adapted to what felt acceptable. Humans repeat patterns that work. This is one of the least talked about truths about social behavior. People do not always consciously choose disrespect. Sometimes they simply follow habits that have never been challenged. That is why kindness alone is not enough. Patience alone is not enough. Silence alone is not enough. Respect without boundaries slowly turns into permission. This is where many people get trapped. They think tolerating bad behavior makes them mature, staying quiet makes them strong, avoiding conflict makes them peaceful. But peace without standards often becomes surrender. You laugh when somebody makes a cruel comment because you want to seem easygoing. You stay available after somebody repeatedly wastes your time because you do not want to seem difficult. You apologize too much because deep inside, part of you fears disappointing people. Slowly, without meaning to, you teach the world something dangerous. You teach people that crossing your line changes nothing. And people rarely stop behaviors that bring rewards without consequences. This is why disrespect often repeats, not because you deserve it, not because people hate you, but because repetition creates expectation. If somebody crosses a line and life continues exactly the same way, the brain quietly stores information, safe, allowed, no problem. And this is where things begin to hurt emotionally, because many people spend years confusing kindness with self-sacrifice. They become so focused on being liked that they forget to ask something important. What behavior am I rewarding? Think about it carefully. Somebody dismisses your feelings but still receives your full energy. Somebody insults you but still gets unlimited access to your attention. Somebody constantly interrupts you but still controls every conversation. Somebody disappears when convenient and returns whenever they need something, yet you stay available every time. Little by little, people stop valuing what always remains available, no matter how badly it is treated. Hard truth, but important truth. People do not repeat what costs them something. They repeat what works. Read that in your mind again, because it quietly explains many painful relationships, friendships, workplaces, and even family dynamics. People repeat what works. If disrespect works, disrespect grows. If manipulation works, manipulation grows. If guilt works, guilt grows. This does not mean everyone is secretly cruel. It means human behavior follows patterns. Reward behavior and it repeats. Remove reward and behavior changes. Suddenly the real question appears. If disrespect grows when it costs nothing, what makes disrespect expensive? Not expensive through anger, not expensive through drama, not expensive through revenge, something deeper, something calmer, something stronger. And this is where most people make another mistake without even realizing it. They explain too much. Listen carefully, because this habit hides behind good intentions. Somebody questions your decision and suddenly you begin defending yourself. You say too much, you explain too much, you apologize too much. You feel pressure to prove your reasons are valid. Sorry, I cannot come because I have so much happening and I feel bad, and maybe next time, and I really hope you understand. Sorry if this sounds stupid. I know this may not make sense, but maybe I am wrong. But notice what quietly happens inside these sentences. You shrink before you even speak. You lower your own authority before anyone else gets the chance. You ask for permission to exist inside your own decision. Many people do this because they fear rejection. They fear disappointing people. They fear judgment. So they over-explain. They believe longer explanations equal kindness. They believe defending every action will make others respect them more. But socially, something strange happens. Too much explaining often creates the opposite effect. It signals uncertainty. It signals insecurity. It quietly tells people you are waiting for approval, and people feel psychological power where uncertainty lives. Think about the people who naturally seem respected. Not loud people, not arrogant people, calm people. They say things clearly. I cannot make it. Pause. No. Pause. That does not work for me. Pause. Short sentence, calm tone, no emotional panic, no performance, no desperate effort to avoid discomfort. This does not make them rude, it makes them grounded. Because confidence is often quiet, confidence does not rush to explain itself to everyone. There is power in emotional stillness, power in short sentences, power in calm certainty. And the truth many people never realize is that over-explaining often comes from fear, not kindness. Fear of disappointing people, fear of conflict, fear of not being liked, fear of losing connection. But people unconsciously respect emotional steadiness more than nervous approval seeking. The strongest sentence in the room is often the shortest. Think about arguments for a moment. One person becomes emotional, talks endlessly, explains every detail, defends every feeling, tries desperately to be understood. The other person stays calm, measured, direct. Something about calmness feels heavier, more solid, more difficult to move. That feeling matters because emotionally reactive energy often gives other people power over your state. The moment someone learns they can push your emotions around, control starts quietly shifting. And that is exactly why calm people seem harder to disrespect. Not because they are intimidating, because they feel difficult to shake, difficult to manipulate, difficult to emotionally control. Their energy quietly says something powerful without words. I know where I stand. I do not need permission. I do not need to convince you. I do not need to chase understanding. But words alone are never enough. At the end of the day, this was never about becoming feared. Not in the loud way people usually think. Not through anger, not through cold behavior, not through trying to dominate every room you enter. Because real respect does not grow from intimidation. It grows from certainty, quiet certainty. The kind people feel before you even say a word. The truth is, the people others hesitate to disrespect are rarely the loudest people in the room. They are rarely the most aggressive. They rarely waste energy proving themselves. Instead, they carry something far more powerful: clarity, standards, emotional control. They do not scream when someone crosses a line. They do not beg to be understood. They do not chase people who repeatedly ignore their worth. And most importantly, they do not abandon themselves just to keep someone comfortable. That is where real power begins. The moment you stop teaching people that disrespect is free, the moment your silence gains weight, the moment your attention stops being available to anyone who treats you carelessly, the moment you stop shrinking, over-explaining, apologizing for your boundaries, and begging for basic respect, something quietly changes. People notice, maybe not instantly, maybe not dramatically, but slowly, consistently, people begin learning something important. Crossing your line comes with a cost, not revenge, not drama, not emotional chaos, just consequences, calm distance, less access, changed energy, stronger boundaries, because people pay attention to patterns, and over time the pattern becomes clear. You respect yourself, and when people see that, they begin treating you differently, not because they are scared of your anger, but because they understand your standards. Because deep down, people value what feels solid, what feels grounded, what feels difficult to shake. And maybe the hardest truth of all is this: the respect you keep chasing from others often starts with the respect you refuse to give yourself. The moment you stop accepting what hurts you, stop explaining your worth, stop staying where you are constantly dismissed, life begins changing in quiet ways that are hard to describe until you experience them yourself. Conversations change, energy changes, relationships change, and suddenly the same behavior people once repeated around you starts disappearing, not because you forced respect, because you finally stopped rewarding disrespect. So remember this when you leave today. The people others fear disrespecting are rarely the loudest, rarely the most intimidating, rarely the people demanding attention. They are the people who quietly show they can walk away, protect their peace, and stand by their standards without apology. If this video changed how you think about respect, self-worth, and human behavior, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we break down psychology, self-improvement, and the hidden behaviors that shape your life in ways most people never notice. And if you found value in this video, take 1 second to like it and share it with someone who needs this message right now. You never know who is silently struggling with respect, confidence, or boundaries. Until next time, protect your peace, respect yourself first, and never forget this simple truth: the standard you accept becomes the standard people give.